I want you to close your eyes for a second. We're going back in time. The year is 2007.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You turn on the TV, probably a chunky tube TV, let's be honest,
Okay.
and you see a young woman in a velour tracksuit. She's quiet.
The Juicy Couture era.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And she's essentially an assistant organizing Paris Hilton's closet, literally cleaning out old shoes. The tabloids mostly know her as the daughter of O.J. Simpson's lawyer.
Right.
She's famous, sure, but she's famous for, well, being adjacent to fame. A +1.
It's a very specific era of pop culture, the BlackBerry era, the Von Dutch hat era. She was part of the scenery, not the main event.
Exactly. Now, snap your fingers. Fast forward 19 years to today, January 2026. That same woman is sitting at the head of a boardroom table. She's wearing a tailored, monochromatic suit.
Totally different person.
She's a certified billionaire with a net worth hovering around $1.9 billion. She's the primary owner of Skims, a company valued at over $5 billion. Oh, and just for good measure, she's a law school graduate who has successfully lobbied the President of the United States on criminal justice reform.
It is, and I don't use this word lightly. It's one of the most improbable character arcs in American history. If you pitched that script to Hollywood in 2007, they would have laughed you out of the room.
They'd say it's too unrealistic, too on the nose.
Completely. The reality star becomes a lawyer and a billionaire. Get out of here.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We are looking at the case study of Kim Kardashian, but, and I want to be super clear here, we aren't here for the gossip.
Right.
I don't care who she's dating. I don't care about the family drama unless it impacts the bottom line. We are treating this as a serious business analysis because you do not get to a $1.9 billion net worth by accident.
No, you absolutely do not. And that's the central thesis we need to start with. There is this prevailing myth, this lazy cultural narrative that Kim Kardashian is just lucky.
Or that she's simply famous for being famous.
Exactly. But when you actually pop the hood and look at the engine, the data, the timing, the contract negotiations, the psychological triggers, you realize this isn't a story about luck at all. It's a story about strategy. High-level, ruthless strategy.
It's the Kim Kardashian playbook.
Precisely. It's a masterclass in weaponizing scandal, mastering the attention economy, before that was even a term in textbooks, and displaying a level of resilience, or what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility, that is honestly rare in the Fortune 500.
Anti-fragility. I love that concept. We're going to get into the mechanics of that later. But before we get to the billions, I think we need to address the elephant in the room, the criticism that always comes up. You hear a lot of people get angry about the term self-made.
It's a lightning rod of a term, always.
Right. Because every time Forbes puts a Kardashian on the cover with the word self-made underneath, the internet absolutely loses its mind. And honestly, I get the rage. It feels disingenuous.
It requires nuance. I mean, if your definition of self-made is the classic American dream, starting in a garage with $0, zero connections, and eating ramen noodles, then no, absolutely not.
Of course not.
Kim Kardashian is not self-made in that sense.
She started on third base.
She did. She grew up in Beverly Hills, 90210. Her father was Robert Kardashian, a wealthy, high-powered attorney. Her mother, Kris Jenner, was deeply embedded in the LA social scene. She had the Rolodex before she had the business card. She had proximity to power.
And I think this is where the business lesson actually lives. There are plenty of kids in Beverly Hills who start on third base and manage to get picked off, or they just stand there waiting for someone to bat them in.
That's the key. It's about return on luck, to borrow a phrase from Jim Collins. She had a massive initial endowment of privilege, but the analysis here is about how she compounded that advantage at a rate that outperformed everyone else in her zip code.
And to understand that mindset, that drive,
Yeah,
we have to look at the psychological foundation.
we do. Specifically, we have to talk about 1994, the O.J. Simpson trial.
She was, 14 years old?
14, an incredibly impressionable age. And just think about the psychological environment she was living in. It was a crucible.
I can't even imagine.
Her father, Robert, is on the defense team for O.J. Simpson. He is the guy carrying the garment bag out of the house. Her mother, Kris, was best friends with the victim, Nicole Brown Simpson.
The house was literally divided. She's hearing one narrative at the breakfast table and a completely opposite one at the dinner table.
Absolutely. But more importantly, Kim was watching her father navigate the most high-profile media circus in American history. She wasn't just hearing about it, she was inside of it.
So she's sitting there, practically a child, watching the news cycle spin narratives in real time. She's seeing the sausage getting made.
Exactly. She saw firsthand that truth is a flexible concept in the media. She saw how reputations can be destroyed or saved solely in the court of public opinion, regardless of the legal reality.
She learned that attention is a force.
Like electricity, it can burn you down or can power a city. And she watched her father, a very private man, get thrust into this global spotlight and have to control a narrative. It was a brutal front-row education in crisis management and narrative control.
And then, not even a decade later, tragedy strikes again in 2003. Her father passes away from esophageal cancer. Kim is only 22.
This is the sink or swim moment. This is the inflection point. Robert was the provider. He was the anchor. He was the financial and emotional safety net.
And when he passed, that net vanished.
It completely vanished. And it shifted her psychology from socialite daughter to survival mode. That's when you see the hustle start. I mean, really start.
It's not just about being seen at parties anymore.
No, she wasn't just partying. She was selling her own clothes on eBay to buy more inventory. She was organizing closets for Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, not just to hang out, but to work. She was building a client list. She realized she had to build the raft herself. The family name opened the door, but she knew she had to build the house.
Which leads us to the moment everyone knows, but few people analyze strategically. The original sin of the brand. 2007. The tape.
The sex tape with Ray J, released in February 2007. Now, we can spend all day debating if it was leaked or orchestrated. Ray J says one thing, the family says another. But from a business strategy perspective,
It doesn't matter.
the how actually doesn't matter. What matters is the response.
Because we have to look at the context of 2007. The standard playbook for a leaked tape think Paris Hilton was shame. It was humiliation.
Right. The playbook was hide, deny it, run away to Europe, be ashamed, wait for the news cycle to move on, maybe do a tearful interview a year later. It was treated as a career-ending humiliation.
And the Kardashians did not that.
They did the exact opposite. They didn't run. They leaned in. This is the birth of the Kardashian playbook. Redirect the energy. Don't waste the crisis. Use the heat.
The timeline here is actually wild when you look at it. It's so compressed.
It's insane.
The tape comes out in February. In August, 6 months later, Keeping Up with the Kardashians is announced.
And premieres in October. That is warp speed in television development. Ryan Seacrest saw the potential. He saw that the simple life with Paris and Nicole was ending, and he knew there was an opening. They moved.
So they took this massive wave of notoriety from the scandal, the millions of people searching her name on this new thing called Google, and immediately channeled it into a vehicle that would humanize them.
That's the key word, right? Humanization. Because you tune in to see the girl from the scandalous tape. You want the train wreck. You're curious.
But you stay because...
Why?
What makes you stay?
Because of parasocial relationships. This is a crucial psychological concept for this discussion. A parasocial relationship is when an audience develops a one-sided sense of intimacy with a media figure.
It feels real.
It feels very real. By bringing the cameras into their home, showing them fighting over Bentley bumper stickers, crying about boyfriends, or dealing with acne, they created a sense of friendship.
The brain is funny that way. It struggles to distinguish between TV friends and real friends if you spend enough hours with them. The emotional circuits are the same.
Exactly. So the scandal got you in the door. That was the marketing hook. But the family dinner table kept you seated. That was a retention strategy. They converted infamy into familiarity. And in business, familiarity breeds trust. Eventually. It's a long game.
So they have the show, they have the fame, but for a long time, let's be real, Kim was just the reality star. She was doing nightclub appearances in Vegas for 50 grand, a pop, hawking diet pills on Instagram, putting her name on cupcakes. It felt very cash grabby.
It was the scattergun approach. Take every check because you don't know when the fame will end. Most reality stars have a shelf life of, 2 seasons? She was testing the waters, seeing what stuck.
But the first sign that she was a serious operator, someone who understood value capture, came in 2014. The mobile game. Kim Kardashian. Hollywood.
Oh man, this was the moment. This was the pivot from celebrity to businesswoman.
I remember this. It was everywhere. People were glued to their phones, trying to get to the A-list.
It was a juggernaut. But we need to look at the economics here, because this is where she outsmarted the industry. The game used a freemium model.
Which, for anyone who hasn't lost hours of their life to Candy Crush, means the game is free to download, but you pay for speed or status.
Correct. You played as an aspiring celebrity. You needed energy to go to photo shoots. If you ran out of energy, you had 2 choices. Wait an hour for it to recharge or pay 99 cents.
It's addictive.
It preys on impatience, and it relies on millions of these tiny microtransactions.
It seems small, $1 here, $2 there.
But when you have 45 million downloads, those pennies turn into an avalanche. The game generated $160 million in revenue in its first year. But here's the high agency move, the genius part of the deal.
What's up?
Kim didn't just license her name for a flat fee. Most celebrities back then would have taken $500,000 up front and walked away, maybe $1 million.
She bet on herself.
She negotiated a back-end revenue share, reportedly 45% of net profits. So when the game blew up, she pocketed around $45 million from that venture alone.
That's more than Robert Downey Jr. made for some of the Iron Man movies.
For a mobile game that she didn't code, it was a signal to the business world. Forbes put her on the cover not because of the show, but because of the game. It proved she wasn't just a face, she was a distribution channel. She understood digital engagement better than the tech companies did.
She was building the foundation. But then, everything changes. We have to talk about Paris, October 2016. Because I feel like there's a pre-Paris Kim and a post-Paris Kim.
Absolutely. This is the pivot point of the entire case study. It divides her career into two distinct epochs. BP and AP before Paris and after Paris.
Let's set the scene, because it plays out like a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's Fashion Week in Paris. She's at the Hôtel de Portelet, which isn't a normal hotel. It's more like a private, unmarked luxury residence.
Right, for discretion. And it's 3:00 a.m. She's alone in the suite. Her security guard, Pascal, is out protecting her sisters at a club nearby.
And 5 men, dressed as police officers, force the concierge at gunpoint to open her door.
It's terrifying. And these weren't some high-tech Ocean's 11 cat burglars. The press called them the grandpa robbers, right?
They did. Most of them were career criminals in their 60s and 70s.
But that creates a false sense of security in the retelling. This was terrifying. They zip-tied her hands with plastic cables, duct-taped her mouth and legs, and threw her in the bathtub.
In her testimony, she was explicitly clear. She thought she was going to be raped and killed right there in the bathroom. She was begging for her life, telling them she had babies at home.
It's just chilling. They made off with roughly $9 million in jewelry, including that massive $4 million engagement ring from Kanye.
Which was never seen again.
They melted it down almost immediately. But here's where the story shifts from a crime thriller to a crisis management study. How did the robbers know where she was? How did they know she was alone? How did they know about the ring?
Social media.
Exactly. She had been Snapchatting and posting to Instagram in real time, showing off the diamonds. Her greatest asset, her visibility, had been weaponized against her. The tool that built her empire almost got her killed.
So what does she do? For a woman who built an entire empire on look at me, on constant noise, on sharing everything, she does the unthinkable.
She goes dark.
Complete silence.
Strategic silence. For 3 months, she vanished. No Instagram, no Snapchat, no public appearances, no paparazzi strolls, nothing.
That must have been terrifying for her business managers. The whole model is feed the beast. If you stop feeding it, the beast dies. You become irrelevant.
But it was brilliant. In the attention economy, scarcity creates value. By disappearing, she created a vacuum. Her silence was louder than her noise. It created intrigue. But more importantly, it allowed her to reset the entire narrative. When she finally came back in December 2016, the brand had completely mutated.
The bling was gone. The flash was gone.
Gone. The aesthetic became muted, beige, gray, monochromatic. The content was family-focused, no more real-time location tags. She learned a hard lesson. Visibility is a weapon, and it can be pointed at you.
And this is where she shifts from, as you said, vanity to purpose.
Yes. And that leads us to the next and arguably most risky phase, the advocate. This brings us to Alice Marie Johnson.
This was a massive risk. I mean, we have to remember the political climate. It's 2018. The country is incredibly polarized. Kanye's wearing Meiji hats, causing his own controversies.
It was a minefield. And Kim discovers this case online. A 63-year-old grandmother serving a life sentence for a first-time, non-violent drug offense.
It's a classic case of an unjust mandatory minimum sentence.
Exactly. And Kim decides she wants to lobby President Trump to free her.
Her advisors told her not to do it, right? I remember reading they said going to the Trump White House was career suicide for a celebrity with a largely liberal fan base.
They did. They were screaming, no! And her response was telling. She asked, is my reputation more important than someone's life? She ignored the advice. She sat in the Oval Office.
But she didn't just go for a photo op. This is key.
No. She brought lawyers. She brought data. She understood the specific legal levers of clemency. She wasn't just Kim Kardashian reality star. She was preparing to be Kim Kardashian advocate.
And it worked. Trump commuted Alice's sentence.
Which is a staggering amount of soft power. But from a branding perspective, it created what psychologists call the halo effect.
Break that down for us.
The halo effect is a cognitive bias, where one positive trait or action influences your overall perception of a person. By doing something undeniably good, freeing a grandmother from an unjust sentence, it cast a positive light over her entire brand.
It gave people permission to like her.
Precisely. You might hate reality TV, you might think the selfies are narcissistic, but you can't hate freeing someone from life in prison. It neutralized a lot of her critics.
And she didn't stop there. This kicked off the law school journey. And I want to get technical here because people were confused. She didn't go to law school in the traditional sense.
Right. She didn't get a JD from Harvard. She utilized a path called reading the law. California is one of the few states that allows this. It's essentially a 4-year apprenticeship. You study under practicing lawyers for a set number of hours a week. You take monthly tests, and you have to pass the baby bar.
The baby bar. It sounds cute, but it's actually a nightmare, isn't it?
It's the first-year law student's examination, and it has a pass rate of typically around 20%. It is brutally difficult, and Kim failed it.
3 times.
3 times, which ironically helped her brand more than passing it on the first try would have.
Oh, so?
If she had passed easily, people would have said, oh, she paid someone off, or the system is rigged for celebrities. The fact that she failed, publicly admitted she failed, documented her study sessions, and showed the struggle, it made it real.
It showed grit. It was relatable failure.
Yes. And when she finally passed in December 2021, it felt earned. She finally graduated the full program in August 2025. This wasn't a hobby, it was credibility play. It transitioned her from reality star to advocate.
So she has the credibility. She has the attention. Now she needs the billion-dollar vehicle. Enter Skims.
September 2019. This is the masterpiece. This is the culmination of everything she learned.
But I want to push back a bit here. Shapewear wasn't new. Spanx had been around for 20 years. Everyone's mom had a pair of Spanx in the drawer. Why did Skims work so spectacularly?
Spanx existed, but think about the branding. Spanx was a secret. It was beige, clinical, and hidden under your dress. Its whole purpose was to be invisible. You didn't want anyone to know you were wearing it.
It felt a little shameful almost.
Exactly. Skims flipped the script. They made shapewear cool. They made it outerwear. They made it something you could wear as a top. But functionally, the genius was inclusivity.
The sizing and the shades.
That's it. They launched with sizes XXS to 5X. And crucially, they had 9 different skin tone shades.
Right, because before that, nude usually meant beige for white people.
Exactly. She identified a massive gap in the market, women of color who couldn't find shapewear that matched their skin. But we need to look under the hood at the business model. This is where she separates herself from the pack. Skims is a direct-to-consumer, or DTC, juggernaut, and they utilize the drop model.
Which is borrowed straight from streetwear culture. Think Supreme or Yeezy.
Exactly. Instead of having a permanent inventory that gathers dust on a shelf, they release limited quantities of a new collection at specific times. This does 2 things. First, it manages inventory costs. They aren't sitting on millions in unsold stock.
By the second.
Second, and more importantly, it weaponizes scarcity. It creates FOMO, fear of missing out. When that countdown clock on Instagram hits 0, you aren't just shopping, you're competing.
It triggers that primal resource-guarding instinct.
Yeah.
FOMO isn't just a buzzword, it's a conversion driver.
Yeah.
The launch day numbers were crazy, right?
You did $2 million in sales in the first 10 minutes, the site crashed multiple times. But the metric that really blows my mind with Skims is the CAC customer acquisition cost.
This is the holy grail for any online business.
It is. In a traditional DTC startup, say you're launching a new sneaker brand, you might spend $50 to $100 in Facebook or Google ads just to get one customer to buy a pair of shoes. That eats your margin alive.
So what's Skims' CAC?
It's virtually 0. Skims doesn't have to pay Mark Zuckerberg a dime because Kim is the ad network.
She posts a mirror selfie in the bathroom to 360 million people, and the site crashes.
Precisely. Her customer acquisition cost is 0. That margin, the money she saves on ads, goes straight to the bottom line or into better product development. That is an insurmountable competitive advantage.
And let's not forget, she had a crisis right at the launch with the name.
Oh, the kimono controversy, a perfect mini case study in modern crisis management. She announced the original name was kimono, and there was immediate massive backlash over cultural appropriation.
The old playbook would be to double down or ignore it.
Right. But she didn't. She listened, she acknowledged the mistake, she apologized sincerely, and she rebranded to Skims. She turned a potential brand-killing disaster into a moment of humility and connection with her audience. It was textbook.
So let's look at the numbers now in 2026.
It's staggering. As of November 2025, Skims raised money at a $5 billion valuation. Kim owns roughly 35% of the company. That stake alone is worth about $1.67 billion.
And they've expanded beyond just shapewear.
They are swallowing the market. The men's line was a huge success, swimwear. Then you have the major partnerships, official partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. Then the Team USA Olympics partnership.
It's becoming a true lifestyle brand.
And coming in 2026, we're seeing Skims Beauty launch, which is absorbing her old, less successful beauty ventures into this powerhouse brand. It's becoming a conglomerate.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about the personal side of crisis management, too. We've talked about business, but her relationships have been public case studies as well, specifically the two major divorces. They feel like night and day in terms of strategy.
They really are. They show a huge evolution in her own maturity and strategic thinking. First, you have the 72-day marriage to Chris Humphries in 2011.
The fairy tale wedding. That E! Special was everywhere. 2 parts, 4 hours.
And it ended in a nightmare. The public turned on her instantly. They accused her of faking the marriage for ratings. It was a PR disaster. It threatened to torch the whole brand.
So how did she handle it?
Poorly at first, but eventually she owned it. She admitted, "I knew on the honeymoon it was wrong." She apologized. She framed it as a mistake of a young woman feeling pressure to settle down. It was messy, but the lesson was learned. Authenticity beats perfection.
Exactly. But then contrast that with the Kanye or Ye divorce in 2021 and 2022. That was a different beast entirely.
That was not a PR crisis. That was a personal safety crisis played out in public.
It was scary. It wasn't just gossip. It was harassment.
It was public, it was messy, and it involved mental health issues. Kanye was attacking her on Instagram, attacking her boyfriend at the time, Pete Davidson, leaking private texts. It was relentless.
And her response.
The high road. She went back to that strategic silence she learned from Paris. She realized she couldn't control his behavior, only her response.
She never got into a mudslinging match on Twitter.
Never. She focused entirely on protecting the kids. She released one calm, measured statement about wanting a healthy co-parenting relationship and then let the lawyers handle it. It was a masterclass in stoicism.
And the settlement reflects that stability. Joint custody, $200K a month in child support. She kept the Hidden Hills estate. She secured the sanctuary for her children.
Exactly. And that connects to the broader psychology of why this empire works. We've touched on parasocial relationships and the halo effect, but there are 2 other concepts we need to define.
Hit me.
First is the availability heuristic. This is a mental shortcut that relies on immediate examples that come to a given person's mind when evaluating a topic. Because Kim is always present on Hulu, on Instagram, in the news, on a billboard, she occupies a massive amount of our collective mental real estate.
So our brains just assume she's important because we see her everywhere.
Yes, she hacks our brain's relevance filter. And the second concept...
Let me guess. It has to do with making people feel good about buying her products.
You're on the right track. It's cognitive dissonance resolution. This is crucial for the luxury consumer. A serious business person, someone like you or me, might think, I can't buy underwear from a reality star. That's beneath me. That creates an internal conflict, a dissonance. But by becoming a law student, a prison reform advocate, and a billionaire business founder, she gives that consumer permission to buy.
I'm not keeping up with the Kardashians. I'm investing in a female-founded unicorn that supports criminal justice reform.
Exactly. It resolves the internal conflict. You aren't buying from a party girl, you're buying from a mogul. It's a brilliant, subconscious marketing tool.
So bringing us to today, January 2026. What does a day in the life look like for a $1.9 billion mogul? Because people still think she just sits around getting her makeup done.
It's the opposite. We know from interviews in the show she wakes up at 5:30 a.m. every single day. Workouts are non-negotiable.
That's discipline.
Then it's law studies. She's prepping for the full California bar exam now. Then Skims strategy meetings, then filming the Hulu show, then dealing with the kids. It's a 16-hour day every day.
It reminds me of that controversial quote from a few years ago, "Get your feffin' ass up and work."
Oh, that went over like a lead balloon. The backlash was immediate and fierce.
It was tone deaf, for sure. I mean, it completely ignored the privilege and the team of nannies and assistants and chefs she has that make that schedule possible.
But if you look at it through the lens of her own life, She isn't lying about her own schedule. She does put in those 16-hour days. She operates with an athlete's discipline. She treats herself as an asset that needs constant optimization.
So what is next? We are looking at 2026 to 2030. What's the next mountain to climb?
The rumors of a Skims IPO are getting louder and louder. If they go public and the market reacts well, that $5 billion valuation could easily double, maybe more.
So her net worth could jump from nearly $2 billion to, what, 5, 6?
Potentially, she could be looking at a net worth that rivals Oprah. We're talking potentially $5 to $10 billion in the next decade if things go right.
And she's acting now, right? She's in that Ryan Murphy legal drama.
Oh, that's fair. She's playing a divorce lawyer, ironically. It's another layer of branding. Blurring the line between her real life studying law and her entertainment persona. She's creating her own flywheel.
It's all connected. It's all content.
It's all leverage.
So as we wrap this up, let's go back to that word you used at the very beginning, anti-fragility.
Yes. It's a concept from Nassim Taleb. In systems theory, something that is fragile breaks under stress like a wine glass. Something that is robust stays the same, like a rock. But something that is anti-fragile actually gets stronger when you attack it.
Like a hydra. You cut off one head, two grow back.
Exactly. Kim Kardashian is the definition of anti-fragile. The sex tape should have ruined her. It made her famous. The 72-day marriage should have humiliated her. It ended up making her relatable. The robbery should have broken her. It gave her purpose. She absorbs the chaos and converts it into brand equity.
She eats crisis for breakfast.
She does. And that is the takeaway for anyone listening to this. You don't need a sex tape or a reality show. The lesson is about owning your narrative. It's about not letting your worst moment define you, but rather using it as the foundation for your next chapter.
But we also have to acknowledge the price. Because there is a cost to living like this, a human cost.
A huge cost, a complete and total loss of privacy, constant security details, the lingering PTSD from the robbery, the difficulty of having any normal human relationship when your life is a global commodity. It's a golden cage, but she built it herself.
She built it brick by brick over 19 years.
And looking at the trajectory, she's not done building yet. Not even close.
I think that's the perfect place to leave it. A story not of luck, but of relentless, calculated strategy. Thanks for breaking this all down with me today.
It was a pleasure. It's a fascinating case study.
And to you listening, what is your Paris moment? What's the crisis in your own life, big or small, that you can turn into a pivot? Something to think about. We'll catch you next time.